Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the City of Sebastian Plan and Zoning Commission. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you call the roll, please, Dory?
Mr. Roth?
Here?
Mr. McManus?
Here.
Mr. Dodd?
Here.
Mr. Kizelbosch?
Here.
Ms. Kottenberg?
Here.
Mr. Hugan? Here. Mr. Carter? Mr. Alvarez?
Here.
Mr. Reyes?
Here.
Thank you. So all commission members are present. We have two alternates here. First, I'd like to welcome Kelly Armitage, who is filling in for Attorney Ginsburg. Attorney Kelly Armitage is our legal counsel for the meeting this evening. In the form of other announcements or agenda modifications, staff has requested that we move up on the agenda an item of new business, which is shown on page 2, item 9, request for outside display area in the Riverview Overlay District. In order to do that, I'll need a unanimous vote by all the commissioners here that are voting tonight. All those in favor of moving that item on the agenda, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll move that up on the agenda. There are any other announcements by staff or city attorney? Okay. There are no minutes to review and ask for approval on tonight. So at
The last meeting minutes, what happened? We don't have a meeting for that?
I am behind on minutes, so I apologize. With the time constraints in the last month or so, if anybody does need a copy of any of the last two meetings, we certainly have the video, and we can get an audio copy of those meetings for you.
Thank you, Mr. Kizelbosch. I had asked that prior to the meeting, so it's on the record now. Any other announcements before we proceed? At this point, we'll open the meeting for a quasi-judicial hearing on two items. The commissioners have reviewed the agenda. Are there any ex parte communications by...
I know, excuse me, Mr. Roth, we were going to do the new business first before those two hearings.
I'm sorry. I did not move it on my own personal agenda. I'm sorry. So we're moving forward then with new business. Thank you. To discuss the request for outside display area in the riverfront display, I'm sorry, the display area in the Riverfront Overlay District on US 1. Is there anyone here who would like to comment or make a presentation to the commission on that request? Yes, would you please come forward and at the microphone here give us your name and address?
My name is Harry Blauvelt, and I own Harry B. Golf Carts. I have two other locations, and I'm now in the process of trying to open one on Route 1 in Sebastian. Due to the situation where I'd like to have a couple of carts out in the front so people realize what I'm doing, To give you an idea that my last name on the sign is B, I had a lady come in the other day looking for honey. So they have no idea what's going on there. I've read all the literature on it. I know right from wrong. I know I have to keep it clean. I know that it shouldn't be on the sidewalk. I've talked to Dory about it many times. She's told me everything that's got to be done, and it's very important I get it, and I'd like to thank you.
Thank you. The staff have a recommendation on that, or?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Members of the commission, Joe Griffin, City Manager for the City of Sebastian. I rise in support of this application and request. That is a location that's kind of unique for us along US 1. Frankly, at its basics, it's been very hard for businesses in other disciplines to succeed there. I think that Harry B's installation of those golf carts out there provides a colorful addition to US 1. I think that he has a great atmosphere inside and out to be successful. So certainly, as a city manager, I would like to see a successful business there and anything to succeed. So I would ask that you support this application. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, City Manager. Appreciate your comments. Didn't mean to overlook you. At this point, we'll have the staff recommendation comments on the new business item.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, Mr. B has been working with staff the last few months to relocate or open this business on US 1. We've been working with parking and signage, and he approached staff to see if he could have some of the carts displayed outside. Now, certainly some of the other businesses in the district, you'll see the antique shop has set out tables and their small wares right out by the door and come inside at the end of business. This was a little bit different. They were a little bit bigger, Sportmobile. When we did check the code, there was that section that was included in your packet that because this is in the Riverfront District, it was required to have your approval. And then it refers to a section of the code, and there were 5 conditions. I feel that Mr. B he's responded to those 5 conditions in his letter that was attached to his application. You have that in your packet. Staff is also recommending approval of this. He is requesting a 6 by 20 foot display area that's in front of the building. I think what was shown, we gave you a site plan and they indicated where that was going to be. He's indicated 2 carts in there. I think that was just for, so you could see what was going to be parked there in the area. I don't know that necessarily that we need to limit the amount of carts that can be displayed unless that is something that you want to discuss, but I think anything that's in that area, so that area would be for display. I'm sure that when the customers come and they need to want to ride in the cart, see how it feels, whatever, that those carts may be moved out of that display area and used. You may see it parked in the parking space until it gets back into that display area. But we feel as long as those carts are parked in front of the building and you approve that area, it meets the intent of the code, and staff recommends approval of his request.
Did staff have any comments on the number of carts to be parked in that area? I know the drawing we have just shows 2, and you commented about it.
The code doesn't mention that it needed to be established. It's a discussion that the commission may have, but I feel if the carts are in that area, there is a sign right there, and then it does on either side go into its parking area, so I think it is limited on how many could go there. But I don't think he could fit 6 or 7 in there. It's probably 2, 3, 4, and that would be at the commission's wish if you wanted to establish a number.
Okay, thank you. Asking the commissioners now, just for your reference, I do have questions, but I'm not going to ask them at all until each one of you has had an opportunity to ask questions. I don't want to belabor it either, so I'd like your thoughts and comments on it. Let's start with this end of the commission.
Yes, I just have 1 or 2 questions, if I may. I've noticed, and there have been some carts that have been sitting out there over the last week or so anyway.
Not on
Not necessarily in this
Not on this.
particular area. Is that going to be continuing? Can anyone answer that?
I'm going to leave the applicant. I assume that they were relocated a little bit if customers were riding them or taking them for a test drive or something, if you want to call it that. But this would establish the area where they should be parked when they're not being used.
Mr. B, would you comment on that?
If I may, I can answer that question. Some of the carts that you see out front is either being picked up or delivered. I also do rent carts. And yesterday, for instance, we had 8 carts come in on a truck. It was put in there. As soon as I could, I put them away. Did have somebody from the town come and, someone that lives in the area, come and take pictures of it yesterday and tell me that I was doing something wrong. I put them away, and I know the difference between right and wrong. They don't belong there, and we'll take care of it.
And I want to wish you luck in your business, because I know, as the city manager mentioned, it has been a challenge to keep a good business there, a thriving business. That was my only concern, because I have noticed that some carts, not as many as what you're talking about, the 8, but I did see some that were between that property and where Mobe Grill restaurant is behind there. So anyway, best of luck to you.
I thank you.
No comment.
Mr. McManus?
Well, I would vote for the project, but yeah, if the carts are somewhat of a consideration, you might put an amendment on it that it would limit the display area to 2 carts as it's shown. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comments?
No
questions?
comments.
None? Mr. Alvarez?
I have no comment.
None? Mr. Reyes?
I have seen some of your carts in the parking area out here that's shown on the existing site plan, and I have seen some possible customers out there talking to either you or your staff. My concern is, it's almost, you're gonna be displaying them or showing these cars out here, or is it just like a display sign? Or is there gonna be people looking at these out in front of the property out here, and now you're gonna have a bunch of traffic out in the front here? I'm curious on how that's
No,
display. That's what, like a car sales display?
All I'm going to have is 2, 3 carts out front,
are
so
for
people
sale.
realize what kind of business we're in. As they're driving by, they'll see I am working on a new sign, and I have a showroom inside, and inside there's 5 carts, 5 to 6 carts, new ones, used ones, and that's where most of my business takes place. Occasionally, somebody wants to walk outside and see something, fine, but most of the time it's taken care of right in the showroom.
It'll be like your new models on display for sale.
That's correct.
My other question was to the city. There has been a lot of businesses that have attempted to make a living here, and I know our sign rules are very strict. Has any of the previous applicants or tenants applied for a display sign out there or a sign? I know the coffee shop, they used to like to park their car right in the front with a sign, a magnetic sign on there to try to draw business. So did any of our previous tenants here, was there any request in the past for this type of display out front here?
Not the outside display
or
area. I know
sign.
that some of the other places have had a picnic table out there, things like that, but say it was maybe a thrift shop or something like that, we would be okay with tables going on the sidewalks, close to the doors, the entrance. Again, if it was in front of the building in the grass area, we may have required them to do this same process, but this is a little bit bigger than, teacups and things like that set on a table or what you're selling at a thrift shop. This was more of a, I don't want to call it vehicle because it's not vehicle sales, but.
Okay. I'm curious, I see the display size, but how far off of this building is gonna be? Are you trying to imitate scale on this drawing, or or are you gonna end up putting it right up against the sidewalk? Because there is no dimension shown on here tying it to the property line. building.
I figured it out to scale, like you see in
Oh,
that
okay,
drawing.
so it's real close to the building where you're gonna do
Is
your
to
display.
scale, there's a hedge there, there's 2 feet between the hedge and the carts, and there's 3 or 4 feet between that and the sign. If you'll give me a second, I also have a picture of the sign with me, what it'll look like, hopefully in a
Oh,
couple
you
of days.
proposed, okay. Oh, there is gonna be a sign in front of this display area also?
Well,
you mentioned?
not a sign for the display area, but it's the business sign, which they had received through the facade sign and landscape grant. And they are coming in to with a new sign. The sign itself is there, the structure, but there'll be some new copy area.
So we won't be reviewing that? It's
No, no,
already
no,
a
that-
structure there for it?
Correct, that goes through the building department.
Okay.
now.
If you was to put it on the display, the overhead would be fine. Very nice. Very nice. I have no further questions. I wish you best there.
Thank you.
I do recognize that some of the other thrift stores are actually on the sidewalk with their displays. He will not be encroaching on the sidewalk at all in this
No,
area.
and the public sidewalk, some of them have been sidewalks in front of their building, but no, he won't be anywhere near the public sidewalk, is to be right in front of their building.
Great, thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Mr. Dunn?
No question, just a comment. I drove by the other day, and there were 2 carts out exactly where these are marked, and they were not obtrusive at all, and it fit fine with the sidewalk, and it, you could tell then what they were doing for a business in there. So I don't think it's going to be an issue at all having the carts in that area in the front. It didn't seem to block anything when it was in there. So I'm firmly in favor of this. Anything we can do to get somebody to succeed in that piece of property would be a great thing. So.
Okay, I'd like to say the 2 carts that were there, the reason they were there is because I was putting it to scale, taking the measurements.
And I apologize, that does remind me too, the condition, we certainly recommend approval, but we did make it conditional that the approval was for, specific to his business. So if another business came in with a different type of product, they would have to come back before you. They could certainly use the same area, but it would again be reviewed by you. But this would be business-specific for the approval.
So that would
So it's
need to
not-
be something that would be included in the motion for approval.
Yes, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, so I apologize. It's not site plan specific?
We're recommending business-specific.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Cottenberg?
I do have a couple of questions. The first question is, I know that people who buy quasi vehicles like to do a little test drive. Is all of the test driving going to happen on the property? Because I don't believe you can drive those on city streets.
There are some cars that are registered as vehicles, slow-moving vehicles under 23 miles an hour. I don't have any at this time, but hopefully someday I will. The rest of them are done in the parking lot, and if anybody wants to take a real test drive, my other shop is 4 miles away, and there's an area there where they can drive around for an hour and discuss whatever they'd like. I have the same carts there that I have here.
I know that probably a big part of the reason that other businesses haven't been successful there, and believe me, I've been here over 20 years, and it seems like every 6 months there's a different business there, is because there's not enough space for parking. And I don't know what volume you do, but perhaps 2 or 3 parking spaces is all that's needed at any given time. I don't know that. Would it be a problem to be specific about the number of vehicles, absolutely specific about the number of vehicles that could be used as display? My concern is that in years past, we have permitted other businesses to, for instance, one was to have a boat sale and an occasional car, and it turned out to be a continual car lot. There was something in it that we couldn't make that change because it wasn't done quite right or something or other. But could we make this like no more than 2 or no more than 3? I would hate to see 8 vehicles out there. And I don't have any problem with moving them from delivery into the indoors and things like that. And I go past there every day, several times a day. And I think it's a great business, and I think it's a great location for it. But I don't want to see it overdone. I don't want to be stuck with something that we can't, if it doesn't work out well, I would like to say, well, you know, this isn't working and this isn't what we agreed to, and cease and desist.
I'm not sure if, I'm going to refer that to the attorney, if
Yeah.
you can put a specific number that can be displayed, or is it the square footage and how many vehicles you can get in there?
Thank you.
There is no restriction. It's up to your discretion.
So it could be included in a motion with the contingency that it is use-specific only to this particular business. That could be added, correct?
That's already in the motion, is that correct? That it is
Well, there hasn't been a
business-
motion, but our recommendation includes that. And it sounds like it can be at your discretion if you want to designate a number of carts that can be in that display area.
If I may just say one more thing, I represent 4 different golf cart companies, okay? And at any time, there wouldn't be more than 4 carts on display out there, one from each company.
And do you think the 4 would fit in that roughly 6 by 20 foot
sure.
area?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in. You were asking questions.
Okay. What we heard in the request was that it was necessary to display the carts outside so that people knew what business you're in. And now we hear we have 4 different companies, so we have to put 4 different carts out there?
No, we don't have to do that.
No,
That would be an ideal situation.
ideal situation, okay. Thank you. I think I'm finished.
Any further? Okay. Mrs. Simchak, do you have any questions from the?
No, it doesn't affect the school board, but I will say that I have been a long-time resident and community activist, and I wish you well in your business. It's a great business, and I would not have known that it was a golf business unless I didn't see those when you were making to scale those two. So that is an excellent idea. I'm very glad that the city, congratulations on your business. I'm glad that the city, most importantly, that the city manager supports this. So I wish you well.
I thank you.
And welcome to Sebastian.
Okay. I just had a couple of questions that I had noted here. I saw the sign, so there is no, quote, message board on the sign that could be changed daily, weekly, whatever, with movable letters. And will there be any sign prices put on the golf carts, that sort of a thing? Or are there just going to be golf carts, period, setting out there?
There'll be golf carts sitting out there. There could possibly be a price on them, but it doesn't matter one way or another if they don't want, if the people in the village don't feel as though they want signs that say the price, that's fine too, because we have to talk about it inside the showroom before we can come up with a deal anyway, so it's not that important.
What I also was thinking about, we have the A-frame signs that seem to proliferate in certain areas and that sort of a thing, and that's something that would need to be discussed when you get the final approval on the permanent sign out front, as to using that. And if you have signs that are taped on the golf carts, wind does blow and they could get blown away, so trying to avoid litter in the city. That was it as far as my questions. Do any of the commissioners have any other questions at this point? Okay, could we have the staff recommendation again on that, Dory, if you would please?
Sure. Staff recommends approval of the request for the outside display with the condition that the approval would be business-specific.
Okay. We're ready for a motion if any of the commissioners would proceed with that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the outside display area sufficient for displaying 2 carts for Harry B's golf carts, conditionally that the approval is business-specific for Harry B's golf carts only and will not succeed to future businesses in the location without additional approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Dodd, second by Mrs. Cottenberg.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Yes.
hear it.
I know you're trying to
Mr. Chairman.
confuse me already.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
On that motion, would it be possible, if there's no objections, to increase that to no more than 4?
That would be up to Mr. Dodd and Mrs.
Well, in looking at it when there were the 2 carts out there, they didn't seem to be at all obtrusive in the whole thing. And then we're talking about an area where there's going to be a monument sign also. Once you get the monument sign in there, I think there could end up being some display areas that could hit that. So I don't feel uncomfortable with 2. I think Louise had a very good point about, having to have some number in there. If it's the commissioners felt that maybe they need to go more, I'd be willing to accept an amendment if you felt like that you might want to do that, and enough commissioners were agreeing to that. So
I think instead of numbers of car, we could say the area 6 by 20, approve that. So if you could fit 4 or 2 or 3 there, that's fine.
well, if you've got the 6 by 20 area, you put the monument in there, and you're taking up part of that
The
too.
monument sign is existing on site already.
Yeah,
It's just going to get some new
Yeah.
copy area.
yeah. So.
I'd like to bring up a point, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please, Mr. Reeves.
The whole purpose he wanted this display was so that people know what he's doing there as a business. He's gonna have a monument sign in front of this display area within, probably before you put your carts out there. So I just got turned around here. Why are we doing this? If he's already gonna have a big monument sign out here that says Harry B's Golf Carts, almost like all the other restaurants maybe should have a display area showing their pizza or their product. So all of a sudden, I'm really confused on this as to why we're even going forward with this.
So there is, the monument sign that's there is existing is a small sign. Signage is based on the linear footage along your roadway, so there's not a lot of, it's not a large sign. We had, I know when Mr. B came in, he had explained he was going to have an inside display area, but it turns out that front window that's facing US 1 has the lining on it to protect it from the sun, so you couldn't see his display. It was a request, the code does not allow it, it does permit it, it just needed your approval, so I think it's a reasonable request.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable request also to put them out there, and they didn't look at all like, it wasn't out of place to have the 2 carts sitting out there. I think if it begins to look like a parking lot, then it might be different. That's the reason that I kind of agree with the 2, or the reason I moved for the 2, listening to the comments that went forward on that, so.
I understand all that, but I'm just looking at this. It's a signage by permit. It's actually in front, and it's gonna block this display area once it's there, once it goes up on the structure. So I just needed to bring that point up, and I'm for just 2 vehicles in the 6 by 20 area, not the area. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, generally speaking, for approving it with a site-specific contingency and also 2 vehicles.
No, it's business-specific, not
Business,
site-specific.
business, I'm sorry. Got to be careful, that word is important. Thank you, Mr. Dodd. I rely on you quite a bit. So, is there any further questions on that? If not, could you give us a motion again, please, Dory?
Is approval for outside display area for Harry B's with specifically 2 carts, and this will be business-specific with any additional approvals to have to come before Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay. Shall we call the roll, please?
Mr. Kizilbosh?
Yes.
Mr. Roth?
Yes?
Ms. Cottenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. McManus?
Yes.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Congratulations, you're all set. Just confirm on your sign, once that all comes together. And if you would check on the, any additional signage you would like to use. And I too will add my hopes that you'll do really well there.
Okay, I thank you, and thank you for the time.
Okay, now we will move to two items on the agenda, the quasi-judicial hearings. And I think, to repeat what I said before, we've all looked at the agenda and know the property, the sites, and so forth. Do any of the commissioners have any ex parte communication in accordance with Florida law? Okay, hearing none. Anyone who would be here to speak in favor or in opposition to either of these, we'd like you to be sworn in at this point by Mr. or Attorney Armitage, that your testimony will be truth and factual. So please stand and raise your right hand.
Do each of you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Chairman, they're all sworn.
Thank you. At this point, we are considering the public hearing for the commercial amusement enclosed area for Strike Zone Entertainment, which is a change in the designated use for the property. Is there someone here who is going to be speaking on that particular? Would you please come forward and give us your name and address and information on the...
My name is Art Krieger, and we reside at 7625 58th Court in Vero Beach. I'm a licensed real estate broker and a licensed general contractor and a licensed state roofer.
And could you summarize then what will be taking place there?
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Growth Management and Sebastian Building Department for their cooperation, and I want to thank you for allowing me to make this presentation. Our idea here is you have a plan in front of you. We've tweaked it a little bit, but it's basically it's a family entertainment center. It's what it's driven around, so it's community driven. There'll be no gambling. It's strictly redemption for the arcade games. So that would be toys, candies, things of that nature, like that. We are offering just under a 3,000 square feet laser tag arena, which is the state of the art from Lasertron. It'll be an LED with a hazing equipment and et cetera and et cetera. And the arcade will have somewhere between 45 to 50 games. There'll also be a party room as you enter, and that will be a party room or a conference room for businesses that want to have meetings there or parents that want to have parties for their children, birthday parties. There are 14 lanes of bowling. All the equipment is new. It's all provided by Brunswick. I've been working with Brunswick on this project and the owner of the plaza for over 2 years to try and get it right. So we finally got a design. We're making some tweaks to this, no major changes, just some square footage changes. It will have a restaurant, a sports bar, and a lounge. There will be a golf simulator where you can play 160 courses around the world. okay? That will also have a 14-game sports package where you can play hockey, basketball, football, rugby. Pick your sport. You can even hunt deer on this thing. So there will also be 2 pool tables, and there will be 2 dartboards. And that's pretty much the extent of it. Our idea was to revitalize the shopping center. I represent the owner, and I sold it to him originally many years back. And of course, as you all are aware of, it's been vacant for quite a while. So we've been working with growth management in the city of Sebastian. We've done some interior demolition, brought in the temporary power. The architect is working on the plans. We hope to apply for permit within 2 to 3 weeks, I hope. Right now, we're waiting on the load calculations for all the electrical, for the laser tag, the arcade area, and for the rest of the center, so the MEPs and mechanical and electrical plumbing engineers can do their magic to make this thing work. When I came here to do this project, I contacted several architects that I worked with before, because I've been in the building business in Vero Beach for a very long time, and they were all busy. So I ended up dealing with an architect out of Stewart, which she has done quite a few projects in Indian River County, a very young, aggressive girl with a great design concept. So that's where we're at right now. Our idea one of the ideas that I wanted to mention to y'all is that pending approval is that, like, every 2 months we do some sort of benefit. Benefits are some of the schools, veterans of foreign wars, wounded warriors, Humane Society. The money goes to the people who put on the benefit, half the money, and the rest of the money goes to that particular Humane Society or whatever it may be. But this is not a gambling. It's a family entertainment venue with finger foods, chicken wings, hamburgers, pizza, French fries, draft beer, Coca-Colas. So it'll be a place that you can bring your family and have a good time. That's the intent. So at this point, we're waiting on the structural engineer, and we have a second floor mezzanine to remove and some other structural issues to work, but we won't be able to do that until permit's approved. So we're kind of doing other things that we can to get ready and pulling permits on everything that we do, and consulting with growth management and the city of Sebastian.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add at this point?
We're going back and forth on the occupancy on this, and one thing, it's all directed by Florida codes, which Dory can get into that and explain that to you. But we have more than ample parking. We have 262 parking spaces in that center. So right now, the old liquor store is vacant, and the Fight Club is vacant, and we have a proposed leased space of almost 5,450 square feet that's available. Since we've put this ad in the paper, we're getting calls repeatedly on the availability of these spaces. So that's, and that's our intention, to revise the center, bring business to the community. We'll probably have somewhere between 50 to 20 to 25 employees that will be added. So that'll be a boost to the community. And, there's, 5 or 6 schools within a mile of there, mile and a half, something like that. Mm-hmm. So this is a family thing where you can bring your kids, you can bring them bowling. They can play arcade, they can play laser tag. In reference to the laser tag, that's a big hit with the younger generation and middle-aged parents. The closest laser tag arena is in Melbourne, and the other closest one is in Port St. Lucie, from what I understand. And I have visited probably 6 bowling centers all over the Southeast over the past 2 years and putting all this information together. The last one I visited was Stars and Strikes in Woodstock, Georgia, and they just opened about 3 months ago. So we're kind of following suit with them. So that's pretty much where we're at.
Well, good, thank you. If you would stay there, we'll ask for the staff's comments and recommendation on this, and then we'll open it for questions from the commission members. Dory, could we have that, please?
Yes, the application before you is for a conditional use permit. A conditional use permit, which is a little different than ones we've done in the past where a new site plan was coming in with a conditional use permit. So the site was designed to be able to meet the conditional use criteria. Here we have an existing site, and so when they proposed this use, I do want to mention that the staff report it interchanges when I talked about the zoning. This is a commercial PUD. That is the true zoning that you'll see on the zoning map. But the PUDs will have an underlying zoning district, either commercial general or commercial limited. The underlying zoning district for this PUD is commercial general, and in the commercial general, this particular use, the commercial amusement enclosed, is a conditional use, and that's why it's before you. And so what we just needed to check is take the conditional use criteria, there are 4 criteria, and we just needed to verify that this use was going to meet those 4 requirements, which have been noted and indicated and addressed in the staff report. And I'll just quickly go over them. The first one is that it couldn't be located within 100 feet of a residential district. To the north, there was an area of RS10, Sebastian Highlands, and we've included the aerials in your packet that do show that they were 212 feet and 177 feet away from those, the different corners of the building, the 2 closest. So it meets that condition. The off-street parking and loading area had to be at least within 50 feet of a residential district, and it just goes without saying that if you're behind the building or the loading if the building is 100 feet, the loading area was definitely 50 feet. The site plan had to provide for an efficient circulation of vehicles on site, which already the approved site plan for the shopping center certainly provided the efficient circulation and reasonable access to a major thoroughfare. In their comments, they had noted South Fleming Street was their thoroughfare. Of course, they're right there next to 512 too. So this is just approving the use, and we provided the floor plan for you to see the intensity of the use, but it is not approving the floor plan. So if you move to approve tonight, you're approving the use and not necessarily this floor plan. This floor plan could get changed around once it goes review from the fire department or the building department. You're approving the use. Staff recommends approval. It meets all the conditions of requirement, and we are going to be happy to see an empty store for the last 5 or 6 years get a tenant in it and hopefully bring some business to that area.
Thank you. Commissioners, sorry, we'll start at this end this time with, we'll come back to you, Ms. Simchak. Mrs. Quisma, Cottonburg.
I'm really, really happy to see something coming there as well. I think the intended use could only be an asset to our community. We have lots and lots of people here with nothing to do. My only wish is that I have and perhaps it's personal, but I believe that any kind of machines that have any kind of redemption really is gambling. And I'm not real fond of teaching children how to gamble. I like the idea of a family center, and if I could rule the world, I would incorporate perhaps a very small movie theater rather than the machines. However, I understand fully that we're talking about a family recreation center, period, and that the configuration and actual happenings within could be different than this, and I highly approve of a family recreation center there. Thank you.
For the record, too, we did work with Mr. Krieger. We did verify, and we have it in writing, when you say arcade, we needed to make sure that it wasn't the adult arcades that is allowed in a totally different zoning district. And they have verified that these are just going to be children, young family type of machinery, and not the slot machines or the adult arcade type of machines that they use in those.
I understand that. My objection is that I don't think we need to teach children how to gamble, so that when they get to be adults, they can use the gambling machines in the adult arcades. Thank you.
Mr. Dodd.
This is exactly what needs to be in that PUD. From beginning to end, this is what needs to be in that PUD. Build it and they will come, and I think that's, your phone calls are probably a good indication of that, something of value and has a natural draw to it is going to bring growth, and the growth is going to be positive for the city. And that center has been, I live not far from there, right? Not maybe 300 yards down the street on South Fleming. And even when there was a grocery store in there, it was not a traffic issue on Fleming Street. It was not, there weren't any issues with any of that stuff. I do have one question, though, about the plan.
Yes, sir.
The party patio and the ramp that's shown behind the no-work area, that's not a parking area back there.
No.
And you're not intending for that to be, right?
As always, you have an issue with smokers.
Yes.
And we don't want smokers out in front of the building. Okay? So the party patio is for people who want to smoke, period. There will be signs on the entry doors, no weapons, no smoking, no vaping.
Okay.
When I present to you, you need to realize that the owners and the people that I'm working with are very, very professional people. And so we're all about security. We've discussed issues, as far as the redemption area. A while back, I even made a presentation to Dory about Texas Hold'em tables, and that just went right away. And I realized that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So, but it was basically based on redemption. So the idea here is when a family comes and they bring their kids, or the kids come, the arcade's going to be a good attractor, but trust me, it's going to be the laser tag arena that's going to be full all the time. And they can only play 20 at a time, and then you can have 20 in the waiting. So anyhow, that's pretty much.
Okay. I think it's a great project, personally. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes?
I will ditto that. I think this is great. I have no questions at all as to what your design there is and your use. I think it's a great spot for this, and it will get used. The kids in this area definitely need this. So I look forward to this happening.
Allow me to make one interjection, and I'm not very familiar with this because I haven't been a bowler, okay? But two of the owners were members of the PBA, and there is a scholarship program available for high school students that want to become members of the PBA. So that will be, there's a gentleman, Tom Burke, and he's a local Sebastian resident. And he will be doing all the, getting with the BMW and the pizza places, and that's what he does, is bring all the people in.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. You have a lot of young bowlers here that have to go to Vero to bowl. So I don't think the laser tag's going to be busy. I think your bowling alley is going to be very busy.
Well, I hope it's all busy.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
On that note, you're not going to have enough lanes. If you keep it up, I'm serious.
To give you a little bit of information, like I said, we've been working on this for almost 2.5 years, and we've done, this is based on demographic studies, one by a professional bowling company that does just demographics, and the other one by Brunswick. And their recommendation was 12 to 14 lanes, so we maxed it at 14 lanes.
Good. Are you going to have leagues? I'm sure you are, right?
What's that?
Bowling leagues?
Oh, they're signing up already.
Already? Good.
Yeah,
good.
they're coming by the center while I'm there.
I'm really happy because when they closed the other one on US 1, that was...
Well, that was a bowling alley. This is a entertainment
Right,
center,
entertainment
and
center,
there's a big difference.
No, you got my blessing. It's great.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Carter, any questions?
No questions, just a comment. I've been excited about this since I frequent one of the pool store there, and Steve was telling me that he understood that an entertainment center was coming, then we've all been excited about that. Wish you best of luck. I think it's great, as everyone else has mentioned as well. So thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Quiselbosh?
Yeah, I agree. It will be a nice project for the kids and everything. They would love it. Main concern is they're putting more load on a septic system, on the sewer system, lift stations. So make sure you have to uplift, you have to revise that thing, upgrade it.
That will all be,
Present lift station is not working at all. So, in that area.
that will all be worked out by the mechanical and electrical and plumbing engineers. So we've contracted Fort Pierce Engineering, and we've already met them on site. So that's in very professional hands.
Thank you. Mr. McManus?
Yes, I think it's going to do wonderful, and it's a great addition for the kids and adults, because there was a bowling alley here for 30-some-odd years, which closed 4 or 5 years ago. And they always did, they were packed all the time, so I'm sure going to do wonderful. The only thing is, I had to ask one of my grandchildren what a laser room was. I know what it is now.
I played it once about 20 years ago. So, one of the things I want to point out to you in going over this with the architect and the owners and the rep from Brunswick, we have taken excruciating time to make sure that we meet all our ADA requirements for handicap accessibility. And if you'll notice when you come in the entry, we have a ramp straight in the entry that has a landing area. That size has been increased, and the ramp has been increased in width. So what's going to happen when people come in, they're going to check in at the shoe counter, and they're going to go right to that ramp and come up, is what's going to happen. Because nowadays, most people that bowl seriously have their balls in a bag with roller. They either have 2 balls or 4 balls, which is new to me, but, that's how they do it. So anyhow.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I have no comments.
None? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I did have one question after all. What are your hours of operation that you're planning?
From what I understand, and don't hold me to this because I'm not the manager, I'm just the builder and the real estate broker. But I think the hours of operation will either be 10 to 11 during the weekdays in the morning, and probably till 11 or midnight. And on the weekends, it would probably be the same morning hours to 1 or 2 in the morning. And that all depends on, how we move forward and what happens here.
Thank you. You just got a free ad. You know that.
What's that, sir?
You just got a free advertisement.
Oh, I did?
Yes. Mrs. Simchak.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you very much. This is very exciting for the community. When I first moved to Sebastian many years ago, the high school had a bowling team.
Really?
Yes, and they were number 1, and I was very excited because my husband wanted to be a bowler, so I was like, well, they have bowling, they have swimming, Sebastian's the place to be, and they don't anymore. So that's a possibility and an opportunity, and I'm very excited for the school. Also, just in general, the schools can't be everything, end all, be all. We have children all day. We have intramurals. We also have, as I said, all sorts of clubs and band and things like that. But even in the summer, the after-school programs have day programs just to help out the community, but they can't do it all. And Sebastian is in desperate need of things for the children to do. There's the charter school, which is within that PUD, has taken in 5th grade now, and I'm not sure what they're doing for after school. But as a mother who has driven all the way to Vero for bowling parties and skating parties, and I'm hoping there's a developer out there that will put in a skate rink in Sebastian. Tim down there does it well because of the birthday parties. I understand those birthday parties and that theme. It's just going to be a very good opportunity for, the Skate Factory down south offers summer camps. I'm just throwing this out to convey. When school is out, they offer camps from 8 to 5, which helps out when parents don't have a place to put their kids in the summer when they're working. So all exciting opportunities, and I think that it's a very exciting time because it's going to keep the kids off the streets. I mean, we have the skate park, and that's about it, for our kids. So it's very good. I wish you the business a lot of luck. It looks like it's done right. I understand that. I really do respect. Especially having obsessive compulsive tendencies myself. We don't want to teach that to kids, but unfortunately, I don't like the crappy prizes after many dollars for, redeem for, the Chinese torture machine and all that stuff. But that's what it is because it's the whole package. If a kid doesn't like to bowl, but they're going to a birthday party, they can do laser tag. They can do the arcades. And as I said, and then the parents have to painfully sit there, so thank goodness they can have a refreshment and something to eat. But I wish you luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. As usual, I have a couple of questions. One of it's worded as a restaurant, and I just heard snacks. Does this leave the opportunity open to open a formal restaurant per se in the structure?
We're considering it as a restaurant and bar use. So we're not going to break this entertainment center down into parking uses. There's 250 parking spaces there. But when they get the review through the building department, that area will be considered bar and restaurant. We have taken into consideration the distance from the school. Now, the pub at the south end of that building, they actually had to shoot a survey distance to make sure that they were the required amount of distance from a school to serve alcohol. This unit will certainly meet that distance also. So that was taken into consideration. But yes, it can be a full restaurant and bar. It would be an allowed use.
I just wanted to clarify that, the way it was presented. The party area, I'm more concerned about noise, and if there's going to be music in that area, piped to that area, or someone is going to set up and play music there, even though it's, as you tell us, it's going to be smoking, but we're looking at it being called a party area.
Our intentions at this time, I can't really answer that, but there is no intention to pipe music or put TV out there. It's strictly, at this point in the project, it's strictly a deck for smokers to go out, and if you'll notice, there's no exit off that deck.
Correct.
What we don't want to create is people coming around back and parking, okay?
That was another concern, yes.
So the exit by the dartboard, where there's a ramp next to the party patio on your plan, that is to receive goods for the kitchen. That's strictly what that's for. And these doors will be only accessible to employees. So, in other words, in like the emergency egress doors, they'll have alarms on them. And so all this will be in place. So there is an existing fire sprinkler system in there, and that will be in effect in the arcade and the proposed lease space. So There will be new enunciators and pulls and alarms, and it's all done to code.
Okay. There are a number, I believe the number is 5 huge propane tanks and 4 natural gas meters out there right where that's going. I presume the city will review repositioning of those for safety purposes?
That'll all be through the fire and structural review through the building department, yes.
Okay,
Can I comment on that?
sure.
We're going to natural gas, so all those propane tanks will be gone.
Okay,
We've already signed the owner signed a contract with City Natural Gas, and they'll be bringing a line in on the east side of the property and down underground, and they'll put meters on the walls. There won't be a big tank, there'll just be a meter. And there'll be a meter at the Irish pub, the Chinese restaurant, and there'll be 1 meter on the wall for the bowling center. And that's it. So all those propane tanks will be gone.
yeah, that's good. You always worry about car getting out of control and running into one of those,
Well,
since they're sitting on the ground.
like I said, we have to do security, cameras all around and inside, and we're going to be very diligent about policing the area to make sure we don't have issues. Right now, I have security cameras set up out back because we've got people, I've got a dumpster out there in a portalet, and people are coming around dropping their furniture off. And it's just, so I've met with the Sebastian Police Department, and they're coming by and check on it, but it's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I saw that and I thought, I don't think that came out of the structure, but anyway.
No.
Have a question of staff. There is obviously a sign placement on the front of the building, and this business will be using that. Is that to be assumed correct?
Fair statement, yes.
Okay, good. And I'm sure the safety will look at the stop signs as they're going out to have them replaced because they look sort of almost invisible. They're really worn badly, and one is twisted sideways, doesn't even face the exiting traffic. But I'm sure that'll all be taken care of.
Well, to reiterate, this is just the use that you're approving, not the site plan,
right.
but it's certainly through before they get their CO or something, it's something that we can have checked, make sure all the signage and traffic markings are up to par.
Right.
One comment in that area. When the project is finished, we will be repainting the complete building with the approval of the city as far as the color, and we will be resealing and restriping the parking lot and adding the proper handicap locations and et cetera.
They'll probably take care of the issue I was just talking about, so that's good. Any further questions? Okay, I think we'll, at this point, if procedure is correct, to open to see if there are any other people here to speak in favor of this request. Doesn't look so. Anyone to speak in opposition? Doesn't look so. So there weren't any comments one way or another, so you really don't need to add anything further at this point. And staff, I think, can you summarize the situation so that one of the commissioners would be in a position to make a motion where we are with it, please?
Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit for the Strike Zone Entertainment Center for bowling lanes and accessory uses to be located at 730 South Fleming Street.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. The conditional use permit is not business-specific, it's site-specific, correct?
Well, it's use-specific.
Yeah.
You know, another bowling, if this is given, it does carry with the land for this
Okay, but I mean,
particular
like, your
amusement
recommendation
enclosure.
here is that it be conditional for Strike Zone Entertainment Center. In reality, it's specific for that site.
Correct, it is,
Okay.
it's specific for that unit, yes.
Yes, okay.
Good point. The motion would need to clarify that. Any other questions? If not, we're ready for a motion on the...
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to change the approved use of attendance space from retail to entertainment requiring a conditional use permit within the commercial general zoning district at 730 South Fleming Street.
We have a motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. McManus, correct? You seconded it, right? No, not yet.
I have no comments.
Okay, any questions on the motion? Attorney Armitage, did we comply with the proper language for the use specific on the property in the motion?
Would you read the motion out one more time?
I don't have it verbatim, but it was an approval to change the use from retail to entertainment at 730 South Fleming Street.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on the motion? We have a motion and a second. Prepared to vote?
Yes.
Call the roll, please, Dory.
Mr. McManus?
Yes.
Mr. Kizilbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Roth?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
And thank you for your time.
Really appreciate all the diligence and time you put into this project. It sounds very, very attractive and a project whose time really has come. Maybe a little bit of time ago, but I think you're at the right time right now. So good luck with it.
We're a little frustrated because there's been some delays and stuff, but that'll all get passed. Once the permit hits, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Don't give up. You're on the right track.
No, I'm not giving up. No,
You heard everyone here, so we're...
no, we're not going anywhere until this is done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, great.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for your presentation and your time. Okay, we have another quasi judicial hearing. This would be for Strunk Funeral Home additional parking. Are there any commissioners with ex parte communications? Hearing none. We're ready to move forward. I know the applicants are sworn in. Would, I believe, Dory, it's appropriate to ask for the applicant to make a presentation at this point?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. Would the applicant come forward, give us your name and address, and cover what will be happening at this location, please?
Good evening. My name is John Blum. I'm one of the principal owners of Carter Associates, and we have an address of 1708 21st Street in Vero Beach. Also with me tonight is one of our project engineers, Tyler Spencer. We are here before you tonight to request approval for a parking lot expansion at the Strunk Funeral Home. The Strunks had the opportunity to purchase the old fire station site some time ago. And with that site, it provides for a much-needed access onto US 1. Currently, large funerals have to utilize the parking lot across the street for any overflow parking. So now with the purchase of this property, we have increased the parking lot an additional 33 spaces and also have that access to US 1. The existing driveways on North Central Avenue will remain unchanged. Just getting into the engineering part, the drainage for the parking lot utilizes underground exfiltration trench, and the soils there are very permeable and typical of this location. We've done a landscape plan that exceeds the zoning criteria and meets the riverfront overlay district. I think we're proposing 68 canopy trees, 56 understory, and a continuous hedge along the east, west, and south property lines. I do want to make it clear that there are no building changes proposed with this application. So with that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Very nice landscaping plan.
Thank you.
At this point, could we have the staff report?
Yes, Mr. Blum touched bases with some of the main points. They're adding 33 additional parking spaces. The limits of development, what's currently there, the structure, the building, and then the property, the vacant property to the north is kind of grandfathered in. That's an existing site. What they've done when they purchased there, I believe there was 4 parcels that the fire station was on, and that's going to be, as one of the conditions, we're requiring that they unify that whole project and it'll become one parcel. But in essence, we could have looked at that as the limits of development, but they've included the limits of development to include the building, a portion of that property, and have extended the new landscaping to that. So that parking has been grandfathered in, and we didn't need to look at that for design or drive aisles. It's just this new parking, but a portion of the limits of development does include that building. We have already received, they are going to do a 10-2 self-certification regarding the St. John's permit, and we have received copies of the FDOT permit. There's going to be a little bit of modification from that driveway off of US 1, and we do have that permit in hand in our file. The plan had gone out for review. There was a small minor regarding the turning radius from the fire department. We sent them the revisions and the response to that comment, and we did not receive additional comments in time when your packet went out. And so we had added that condition that we do get that approval from the fire department on this plan. It happened early this week, though. We did receive their comments, and they still had one minor change. We didn't want to change the plan or present the plan that change the plan from what you have, but Mr. Blum has worked with the fire department, and they have resolved their issue, and he's going to show you on the overhead on what is going to change. It's actually going to be a little modification to the existing parking. But in essence, that condition has been taken care of, but we still would like to receive the revised plan sometime after this meeting so that we can include that sheet with the approved set of plans. Mr. Blum can explain that real quick. Basically, that the staff is always good to see additional parking on a site that needs parking for some of their events, so we're glad this is coming in. It did remove a blighted building. The muscle car shop was a project that never got off, so we think this is going to be a great addition to our US 1 corridor, open up some parking. Staff is recommending approval with the 2 listed conditions in the staff report, which is providing a unity of title to combine all the parcels and to get a verbal or an email from the fire department that they've approved, and their responses have been, their concerns have been met. And I'll let Mr. Blum show the small change that's going to be changed on that plan on your sheets.
What you have before you, it's really no change per se to the parking lot. I've highlighted in yellow, the fire department requires a path or a route through the parking lot that they can serve the building. And we've created that route. It complies with the existing pavement and the proposed pavement as is, except for the one radius at the northwest corner of the building. You'll see a little hatching there on the exhibit, and what we'll do is just stabilize that area and grass over it. You won't even know it's different from what it is now. And I have received verbal approval from the fire department on that change.
So you would be adding concrete in that little triangular hatched area?
No, it's just rock. It's stabilization.
Stabilized rock.
Base rock material, and then we'll grass over it. But it will allow their vehicles to go off the pavement at that, if they need to, at that turn.
It's actually correcting a deficiency on the old site plan. It isn't have anything to do with the new parking area,
Right.
so.
Right. And I remember that, but the fire department brought it up, so. And the rock is okay with them?
Yes.
Fine. Okay. That concludes the staff part. Do any of the commissioners have a question? Let's start with Mr. Carter.
I have no questions.
Mr. Quizwash.
Yes. On the sketch, also on that southwest corner, the new area, there's also yellow.
Is your mic on, Mr. Quizwash?
It's all lights on. Okay. The southwest corner of the new parking area, so there's yellow highlight there. What is that, widening there too? Fire department asking for that too?
I'm sorry.
The sketch, which, yes.
The sketch here?
Yeah.
The yellow highlighted part?
Yes.
That's just showing, depicting that emergency vehicle can enter at that new US 1 entrance and make its way through the building for protection.
The other question I have, the storm drainage, I know we have 10-2 certifications. Do we have a soil report and also the drainage calculations?
Yeah, we actually
everything?
met with St. John's, and we had already had the design completed. They kind of did a courtesy review, and they brought it to my attention at the time that we qualified for the 10-2 self-certification. But we had complete geotechnical testing done for permeability of the soil and water table elevation.
Okay. Yeah, it's a small area, 10-2 certification will be fine.
Right.
But your cross-section of the filtration showing that you're only 6-inch, I mean, very little,
Right.
close to the high water tables.
Right.
So St. John has looked that thing?
Yep, they looked at it. We showed recovery within the 72-hour period.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
We do have the calculations on file too, of the report.
Thank you. No question.
Mr. McManus,
No comments.
any questions?
No comments.
At this end?
No, I think it's a good addition. Thank you.
None? Mr. Reyes?
I had a question. I thought there was a well on the fire station site. Did that get abandoned there, or?
I know they had relocated the septic tank, and then there was a new septic tank put in, but I believe that's been all taken out already with the
All the
demolition.
So
removed it.
it's all gone during that demolition?
Right, correct.
But I didn't see any of it on the existing survey.
That is correct.
Okay, no other questions, thank you.
Mr. Alvarez? Ms. Semchak, any,
Oh, no, thank you. Good luck.
none? Okay. Do you have any further comments you wish to add at this point?
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Unless the commissioners have any questions at this point or discussion, we're ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a proposed site plan modification for Strunk Funeral Home additional parkway area at 1623 North Central Avenue, Commercial Riverfront zoning district.
With the staff,
Second.
with the staff's recommendation, the 2 points.
With staff recommendations. Please amend my recommendation.
Is your
motion.
second still okay, Mr. Dodd? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments before we vote? None, we're ready to vote. Would you call a roll, please, Dory?
Mr. Reyes?
Yes.
Mr. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Roth?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. McManus?
Yes.
Ms. Cottenberg?
Yes. Yes.
Cottenberg? And Mr. Kizelbosh?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
At this point, any commission matters to bring up, please? Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, I just want to mention that it's my understanding Mr. Ginsburg has been ill, and I think I personally have enjoyed working with him, and he's a really nice gentleman, and I'd like to let him know that our thoughts go out to him during this time of his illness. So,
And if he's watching, get well quick.
yeah, if he's watching, he's doing the wrong thing. He should be.
I was unaware. Any other commissioner matters?
Yes, I have one to the staff. When the project is complete, who goes from the Community Development Department to make a final inspection on the landscaping? Because we emphasize a lot on plants, the shrub and understory trees and canopy trees, that many, this type, this high, Florida grade number 1. But I've noticed this Riley Auto Stores. So those plants are not up to grade, up to size and spacing. Everything is
I'm
not.
sorry, I didn't hear what site that was.
O'Reilly, right on Wimbrough and.
Oh, for O'Reilly's?
Yeah,
When, there are 2 final inspections before they're ready to open up and get their certificate of occupancy. Building department does the structural, and they call in a final planning and zoning. It's myself, and I take out Philip Patnode, who's our stormwater, and he will verify that the stormwater has been there.
I'm only concerned with the landscaping.
On O'Reilly's, though, when we went out there, there were, as they're planned, there were supposed to be 16-foot trees and a mixture of 12-foot, and those trees have been measured in the canopy. And at the time of planting, when we did the final inspection, the hedges were 36 inches. So the landscaping did pass. I know they had planted the trees at a time, early January, so it was hard for us to judge the full canopy fullness of the tree, but in terms of measuring, and the building official was also out there with me, we definitely taped those trees off. The palm trees had to have 12 feet of clear wood. We didn't see any trees.
Mostly the shrubs are in a bad shape, so they don't meet the height. I think 36-inch high, also spacing, so.
Most of them we checked that we felt were 36. Now, these were the perimeter ones. Now, some of the hedging up against the building, I don't think there's a lot of that, though. That wasn't required to be a certain height. I can't, some of our frustration, though, is we do require these codes, and after the 36 on the height, and I know once the commercial sites get going and those landscaping companies come in, their maintenances come in and they whack those hedges down. Of course, they grow in full, but they're always below the 36 inches. I don't know if that's maybe what you had seen, if they've already been trimmed. I hope not. They should be taking root.
Any other commissioners' matters this evening?
I have one. Lately, I've seen around, and there was a big concern when I was living down south. As a matter of fact, I had a neighbor selling of vehicles in the properties on your home. People put their little for sale by sign selling vehicles. I know down in Dade County, there's a law or there's a limitation of 2 vehicles per household per year. Does that fit here, or do you have any regulations as far as that's concerned? Because there's a gentleman.
Yeah, that's a code issue.
I'm sorry?
We have a code enforcement issue, and I'll make sure if you have an address or you have a location.
Yes, I have one in particular right in the corner of Nebraska and Barber Street. The gentleman, as a matter of fact, he has a little driveway and he parks his vehicles, and I go there every once in a while. He has a new vehicle there, and it's more than 1 vehicle in a year. And I think there's, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know. I know it's a county ordinance down south that it's 2 vehicles.
We'll take a look into it if you give us the address.
Is that this? Okay, yeah. But I mean that, and now I seen on Barber Street, because once you do one, everybody starts popping up, and before you know it, you have a car dealership, going on down and forth on Barber Street, and that is so detrimental.
We agree.
I mean, it really brings down. I've had very bad past experience with neighbors having vehicles parking, selling, and it brings a lot of bad elements or any element to a neighborhood.
We can have the officer look at it, but the code does say that
Well, actually, there's
it
an
doesn't
officer
give any
that lives
limit,
right
but
across the street from that property.
it doesn't have a limit, but it says that all the vehicles on your property have to be registered and insured to
So you
the
see, it doesn't-
property
so you can
owners.
sell cars out of your out of your house all.
But it has to be registered and insured to you. So it has to be, you have to have a title or registration to the name of somebody that lives at that house. So if it's
Right.
somebody's getting it from an auction, bringing it back to their property and selling it and not registering it to you, that could be considered a violation, and we'll have the code enforcement officer.
Also, the concern I've seen also is when they park them out in the swells and the grass areas.
Right.
That's definitely a code violation.
No, that's a right nice little driveway. It's like, it's a business.
Okay.
I mean, and I hate to say this, but not in a residential area.
We can have them check it out.
Please, thank you.
Any others? If not,
I would like to ask how the swale project is going.
The
Drainage swales in the neighborhood.
drainage project that we had going, which was the section in the northern part of the city, that has been completed. Currently, right now, all we have is just the ongoing maintenance of the stormwater. We've had a lot of rain the last few months, above the average, and so we've had problems trying to get some of the equipment out into those areas because of the heavy rains. A good example, the golf course and the airport areas, we can't bring out our heavy equipment because of the saturation of the water. But I think as of January, we finished the last of the ditch cleaning operation. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I brought it up in other meetings.
Yes.
My concern is, in one of the meetings you mentioned that you have received numerous calls on it, and that the city will be going back out and fixing these swales that were cut incorrectly.
And we've done most of the areas that had complaints were the ditch cleaning areas that either did poorly or didn't do a fair enough job. The city crews went back out and took care of those areas.
My concern is the cutting or the clearing of these swales was done without any grade stakes. We are now holding water between the culverts in many areas. I drove around, I have many pictures I've taken. Those areas in the past would clear out right away. Now we're holding water in these swales because it was done improperly. We had the Zika virus going around, and summer's coming, we're gonna have a lot of mosquitoes in our neighborhoods. I think we need to put some priority on these swales and get them taken care of, especially the ones that are holding water.
Again, we are aware of some of the areas that were beyond the ditch cleaning areas and other areas. Again, a lot of the major, we did the ditches, but a lot of the major canals and flowways needed to be cleared out as well. We just cannot get the equipment out because of the heavy rains we've had. I just can't get the equipment into those large ditches at this time. Typically right now, this would be a dry season and we'll be going out there with our equipment. Right now, it's difficult for us to get out there with most of our major heavy equipment into the ditches. We've been trying to take care of the swells and what we call the armadillo. We've been doing some minor areas of pipe crossings, but because of the heavy rains we've had, it's difficult for us to get our heavy equipment into the heavy ditch areas. And that's what's causing some of the water to back up, because what's happened is the canal, the swells are flowing, some of the minor small ditches are flowing, the major canal systems are plugged up because we can't get our equipment into the major ditch areas. Until we have some dry time to get our heavy equipment into those areas, that's what's causing some of the problems right now.
One more question. For this project, taking care of these drainage swales, was there a typical section or a contract plan prepared for this showing what the proposed
We had
cross-section is?
We had preliminary calculations and cross sections. The problem is, not every ditch, they're all very unique. As much as we want to say.
Design of a slope instead of a cut channel? Because that's what we're seeing out there, and I think it's really incorrect. We went from an overgrown drainage area to now a wet drainage area.
Again, it's a learning process. I think in the future we may do it differently. We are looking at, within the next year, switching over from the mechanical method, even though we're going to be doing the mechanical method on the swell systems, because we canceled the quarter rounds. We have hired and we're moving forward with this. I hate to say this, but we are going with the spraying the chemicals. Our neighboring cities, that's all they do. It's the only way to get the head of the system. We have now hired a new public works person who has all his licenses in spraying. We did purchase a Gator as a four-wheel drive device that we're going to start that process, and we're going to hopefully in the near future do more of the spraying. These are legal herbicides. I know there's always issues with herbicides, but these are going to be controlled legal herbicides. I'm saying that's all been approved by all the agencies. I know there's always going to be concerns, but this is what all the other agencies are doing. It's the only way to get ahead, because as you mentioned, we can't get ahead with the mechanical method. We just have, we have over, just on the canal system, we have over, in the ditches and the swells, we have over 800 miles of it. So we just don't have the staffing.
Well, they were ignored for many years,
Yes.
and that's what happens when you ignore something. Thank you very much for your answers.
Just to follow up on that, you said they're holding water. Would dirt fill take care of it, or no?
You need to slope drainage swales correctly so they go from one culvert to the other. The inverts are at certain elevations and it meets. That's a concern of mine now when he says we're going to use chemicals. All these drainage swales empty out to the lagoon, so we
Yep.
environmental issues there.
Okay, thank you. I just have one, I don't want to belabor this, but one question about our sign ordinance staff. Does staff know where the sign ordinance is? I know it's been in review, and I've been told by one area that we really don't have a sign ordinance enforceable. Where is it right now?
I know Mr. Ginsburg was directed through City Council that he was going to be working on an ordinance, and unfortunately, he's been ill for a while, so I think the best to say is it's temporary on hold. I know that he did want to kind of tweak some areas where he felt it needed to be, so it was a stronger ordinance, but I haven't seen any draft or anything at this point, so it's on hold.
So it is not enforceable.
The ordinance, I mean, it's in the Land Development Code, it's enforceable. I think he wanted to tweak it with regards to a Supreme Court decision that happened last summer. I know just this week, the city manager has directed a lot of the snipe signs went crazy this week or within the last month or so. And yes, he had directed code enforcement. They have picked up most of the illegal signs that were cluttering the intersections. We'll get a lot of businesses coming to ask what type of signs they can do. We still have the A-frame or the sandwich board sign program and the temporary banners, special event type of signs. Those are all permits that just require an application. There's no fee for that. So we try and keep those up to date with the businesses. And certainly when a business comes into our department, we're giving them the information out of our code at this point.
Okay, so it was just a misstatement that was made to me at one time. That it really, we don't have an enforceable ordinance on the books. And we do.
Yes, what the sign ordinance is still in the code. I don't know with the
Okay.
enforceable, how that was taken.
Okay, any staff matters?
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Mr.
but are you saying that we don't have an enforceable?
We do. There was some miscommunication
Okay,
within.
because we do have an enforceable sign code in the land development
part
code.
of the
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
city, one area, I don't know why they mentioned it that way, but they did, and I was kind of not very surprised. So anyways, any staff matters?
None tonight.
Okay, great. Any items for the next agenda by any of the commissioners or staff?
Oh, I can tell you, we probably won't have a meeting on the 17th, but we do have a couple other projects that are getting ready to come before you, and some new projects that are coming in that we're working with developers. So I think it's going to be a busy summer. We'll definitely have some projects for you. And a couple of subdivisions that have been on the lay low for the last few years, and are we're having people come in and get the dust off the files.
Okay, so it's St. Patrick's Day off, eh?
Most likely, yes. At this
Okay.
point, I can't
We'll be
promise
on-
that there won't be some accessory structures, but nothing that we've run an ad for any public hearings.
Yeah, we'll be on standby in case.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to adjourn? Motion, second. Second? All right. In favor? We're adjourned. We're adjourned.